The other Skype line, and we're going to check in with Roger Chanoine, former Cleveland Brown. Hey, Roger, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Good. What'd you think of the game yesterday?
It was, I mean, just like anything, it seems like every week I'm saying the same thing. It's always tough when you see the offense do as well as it did, despite a couple of turnovers, but from the standpoint of scoring the points. And, just to see us come out on the bottom again is tough. But, just like anything, on the bright side, I guess we can look at where we're going to end up from a draft standpoint. But I don't know.
Roger, I think what's interesting is that, Edwin Baker was averaging about 5 yards a carry. And
Yes.
They completely went away from the run, especially in the fourth quarter. And they had the lead 24-17 and went away from the run. And I don't know if it's just that we've had no running game all year and that they felt more comfortable throwing the ball. But you know what? The run worked against a team that can't really stop the run.
Well, I mean, I don't know what's going on. I've seen a couple of teams do that over the last couple of weeks where they're doing well, and then all of a sudden they try and pass their way to the finish. I mean, you've seen Dallas do it. You've seen a couple other teams do it as well, and I don't know what the thought process is. I know they talk about this league becoming more of a passing league, but there is a time when you need to stick with the run and ground and pound because it's efficient. It takes up time. It gives you a lot of flexibility when you want to go to a pass, say a play action, if you're running the ball. But I don't know.
And that's the toughest thing, isn't it, Roger? I mean, you haven't put away football games in the fourth quarter now in 4 weeks, and you've had leads the last 3 games in the fourth quarter. Yesterday, you're grounding and pounding away on the Bears, who couldn't stop, a paper puppet from running 10 yards, but let alone they decide to start throwing the football, the Browns do, and you're wondering, you got to be sitting there going, boy, these guys, they can't stop anybody. Let's just finish one for a change and just grind this one out.
Yeah, that's what you're thinking, and I'm sure that the players, we had those situations where we think the run is doing well and we want to stick with it, but we don't call the plays. I mean, the quarterback has the option to audible on certain formations and certain blitzes that they recognize, but other than that, for the most part, you rely on your offensive coordinator to put you in the right situation. Norv is a great offensive coordinator. I'm sure he had a thought process in his decision. I just don't know what it is.
All right, Roger, you got 2 weeks to go. You're walking in that locker room as a former player. Let's put yourself back in your playing shoes there. What's the mood like? How do you keep yourself going? I know you're always playing for tape, but it's got to be – it's a grind, I think, for the next 14 days.
It's a grind, but it's also one of those things where you have to take some personal fortitude. I mean, we're all men out there. We're all competing week in, week out, and you have to look at it from the standpoint, how did I play? How am I going to prepare myself for this game against this person, one-on-one, me against him, mono against mono? And that's the best way to handle it at this point, because if you go out and dominate your man and then 10 other guys on the field do what they're supposed to do and dominate their man, you'll come out on top and you can get 2 wins to kind of get you jump-started in the next season.
All right, Roger, thank you. One more time. We'll do it next week. We appreciate you joining us all season long.
Oh, definitely. I appreciate you guys having me on.
All right,
Thanks,
we'll talk
Roger.
to you next week. Make sure your holidays are safe here, too.
All right, you too, buddy.
Talk to you later. Thanks, Roger. All right, we're going to go back to the Skype line here, and we are going to be joined. Are we ready for this, Big E?
You're ready.
We are ready. All right, so we're going back to Skype 2. And that man right there is Joseph Fedorko. Is that right, Joseph?
Good job, yes.
All right, thank you. I got it. So I did something right today. He's the president of the Chicagoland Browns backers, and we just want to talk to him. Hey, any chance we can back your camera up a little bit, or maybe have you, there you go.
Yeah.
That's a good look. There you
Good
go.
job.
Perfect. All right, what did you think of the game yesterday?
Just another frustrating Browns game from this season. Talking to a few friends, I think our conclusion is that, excuse me, that this is what happens when you have an up-and-coming team, but the worst position on the team is quarterback.
Yeah, I was going through the airport last night about, I don't know, it was 7:30, 8:30, and there was a lot of Browns fans waiting for their flight back to Chicago. And talk about the frustration, because there was a big mix of Chicago Bears fans and Browns fans that were heading back home to Chicago. Talk a little bit about, when you're watching in the fourth quarter and you're watching another fourth quarter kind of slip away, much like the season has the last, 4 or 5 weeks.
I guess there's something to the whole cliche about you have to learn how to win, and you win when you win. And what's really aggravating is you keep hearing that we have this elite defense, and it's been the defense that's really screwed it up the last few weeks. I mean, elite defenses don't let Jacksonville march down your field twice in the fourth quarter. And elite defenses don't let a guy who's been injured for 6 weeks come back and win like that. Now, granted, there was one huge case of luck, and even Bears fans will tell you that, you know, that touchdown to Jeffrey was just insane. That ball should never have been within 10 yards of where it was, but
It was a Hail Mary.
it was a Hail Mary, but Browns being Browns these days, and Jeffrey, who's just been catching everything.
He makes those catches. I mean, those are the catches he's made all years. But there's two things, too, Joseph, that you look at in that particular play. Tayshaun Gibson, who had 2 interceptions in that game, decides to go for number 3, in my opinion, instead of playing man, and you put a double team on Jeffries. That ball should have never made it to where it was if it was defensed properly. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those things, just the way the season is broken down in the second half. When something bad is going to happen, especially in the fourth quarter, it seems like it's going to happen because the team, as you can see them getting better, but they still don't have 1 or 2 guys when the game matters to step up and make the play and clinch the game.
Hey,
And,
what was the?
you know,
I'm just curious.
Gibson's not the guy. We thought, you know, Hayden's not the guy yet. Obviously, there's no one on offense yet except for Gordon, but who's going to get him the ball? So, you know, you just look at I'm just hoping you get the right quarterback, you get a decent running back, and next year we're in Kansas City's position.
I hope you're right. Hey, what's the feeling on Jay Cutler in Chicago today? I'm just curious. What were they saying last night? 'Cause I don't think he looked very good at all. I was not impressed.
This city hates Jay Cutler. They really do. I think they wouldn't have minded seeing him hurt. You've already heard people say, let him go next year, let McCown stay. Part of it is personality. I mean, we watch games at the Cubby Bear, and one of the bartenders was telling us that he made an appearance and was just kind of a jackass to a couple kids. It really, I mean, in my mind, the guy in a lot of ways has a reason to have attitude because he was killed the first 3-4 years he was here because there was no offensive line. And at least now they have that. And Trestman, the coach, seems like they know what he's doing. But, boy, they still revert Ditka out here. What more can I tell you?
That's a good point. Hey, Joseph, thank you very much. We'll make sure we hook you up with a couple T-shirts on the line. So thank you for chiming in today, and we look forward to talking to you in the future. Thank you.
Look forward to doing it again. Thanks.
Thanks, Joseph.
All right. So Joseph Fedorko joining us. He's the president of the Chicagoland Browns backers, and he joined us on the Wayside Furniture Skype line. All right, let's go to – oh, look at this. He's got his hat on, too. Nice. Look at you, Mr. Hood.
Nice.
Matt Wilhelm joins us.
You
Former
guys have
Mr.
to
Everything
understand
in
I
every
get dressed
sport.
in the dark every morning at about 6 o'clock, so it's not calculated what I'm wearing when I do Skype into Dogs on the Run.
Well, tell them they should send you another paycheck for wearing it because the high volume audience of watching us this morning now getting a free commercial for ESPN 850.
You mean nobody's tuning in after another Browns loss?
All right, what'd you think of yesterday's game? That was a lot of fun, huh?
You know, again, I had the pleasure to do the post-game show for 3 hours at the Horseshoe Casino last night, and I said this time and time again on and off the air. It's like with the Browns playing for nothing and the Buckeyes essentially playing for nothing more than a Jostens class ring and an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4. To me, football season's over.
A Jostens ring. I love it.
Just don't sell it. Whatever you do, don't sell that ring.
You might as well put a quarter in a 25-cent machine, and that's what comes rolling out when you play in a bowl game that doesn't mean anything.
Oh, man.
Wow.
What about the Browns defense? They're giving up 31 points per game since the bye. For all the things that have been said about this defense, I shouldn't say it's all on the defense at 31 points per game, but they have not been able to keep teams from scoring, and that's the bottom line.
No, you're right. And I think that, again, this is a first-year head coach, first year with a coordinator, first year with a defensive coordinator as well. And have they grown? Yes. And they play good. Don't get me wrong about that as well. But the one thing that they don't do is I don't think they have like that game breaker on defense, that go-to guy that can get a sack when you need it, get that pass breakup when you need it. On the outside, and especially even more so with Joe Hayden getting hurt. That was very unfortunate, and I think the Bears' eyes lit up when he walked off the field, knowing they were going at young and experienced DBs. And what's a really shocking stat, and I think they've been outscored in the fourth quarter like 130 to like 50 or something like that. So their performance down the road, down the stretch with opportunities to win football games, 3 of the last 4, leading into the fourth quarter or at some point in the fourth quarter, and they just don't have the killer instinct to go and get those stops or get those turnovers necessary to win football games. And time again, with the parity in the NFL and the margin of victory or the margin of loss is being, at or around a field goal, you have to get those stops, and our defense has not produced those when we needed them.
Matt, how does a defense that's looked, in my opinion, they look pretty darn good for the first 10 weeks or so, 12 weeks of the season. How can a team look so tired in the fourth quarter the last 4 weeks like this Browns defense has?
I'll tell you what, and I spoke, a significant portion of time on the air in the last 2 weeks is, you have to understand not just physically are they wore down. It's like the mental state of this football team. And even more so some of their leaders, Joe Thomas, Alex Mack, Josh Gordon has said time and time again, he doesn't care anything about the records. If it's not helping them win football games. Joe Hayden, TJ Ward, the disgust that they've had after losing to Jacksonville, the embarrassment, losing to the Patriots last week after playing them so close. Their mental state is probably very much so fatigued, and it gets hard. I've played for one football team that went 4-12 my first year in San Diego, and it's hard to go out there, even getting paid a significant salary to play on Sundays when you're just really playing for yourself. You're not playing for an opportunity to play in the playoffs or even build on anything because you just want it to all be over with already.
All right, so what's the best advice you could give Coach Chud right now about keeping the ship afloat heading into next year? When you've been in that situation before, what does a head coach need to do in this situation to make sure that the future is stable?
Well, I talked about this last night on the postgame show as well, is, Tony Grossi and many individuals have talked all year long about how, this is not the most talented roster in the NFL. It's a very young roster. And so only about 40% of this roster most likely will be retained, especially with those, with a significant portion of draft picks and hopefully making a little bit of a splash in free agency. So this team is going to be very different next year. So what Coach Chud has to do is he has to reach those guys that he feels are truly a part of this organization's well beyond, these last 2 games and into the next few years, and really get their mental state, in the right place, knowing that, hey guys, it's let's go out and put our best foot forward and again, impress our fans, impress the organization, and stick to the plan of growing with you guys, as leaders of this football team, and we will put the pieces in place, next year. And it's always hard for a player to always talk about next year, but that's just the nature of the beast here in Cleveland, is we're always focused on next year. But it's really keep those guys, mentally in the right place, going out and playing their best football, even though they're playing for nothing.
All right, Matt Wilhelm, thank you so much. We appreciate it. One more week of this. Thanks.
You got it, brother. Talk to you soon.
All right, we'll talk.